All right, so following on from that question I got about, do calories need to be restricted in order to achieve fat loss? And obviously I said the answer is yes, but there is a difference between restriction and being restrictive. And now I'm going to explain the difference between just caloric restriction and being restrictive, or a restrictive approach. So first I'm going to explain what needs to be achieved in order to achieve the goal of fat loss, so we have a basic understanding of that, and then I'll go into the key distinctions between just general restriction and being restrictive, okay? So bear with me. Here we've got this is just a hypothetical example. Please don't take this literally, because it's going to be different for every single person. This isn't a one size fits all thing. I'm just doing it for illustrative purposes to help with understanding. So I always have to clarify that, because there's people that take those things literally too often. So here we go. We take this hypothetical example of this person. Their goal is fat loss, okay? Their maintenance calories that would keep them the same weight, keeps everything exactly the same, is 2,000 a day. They want to achieve the goal of fat loss, so what I've done is I've set their calories at 1750 a day in order to create the calorie deficit, which is this gap here, so that they see that goal of fat loss. And if they stick to that 1750 a day consistently over time, they're going to consistently see that goal of about ½ pound a week of fat loss. That is caloric restriction. Does that make sense? Because we are restricting their calories at 1750 a day in order for them to achieve their goal of fat loss, right? So that's caloric restriction. Now, what we're going to explain now is the difference between restriction and restrictive. And it's kind of the difference is in two key areas. Ultimately, the total amount of calories people would eat every day, and then the foods they include, or the mindset and attitude they have towards food. So with this 1750 a day caloric restriction, what we've actually done here is we've done it in a sustainable and a moderate fashion. So we haven't gone too low with the calories every day. So that in turn allows the person a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more flexibility, and it's easier to adhere to, but also low enough so that they see a noticeable enough change and difference in their, so that they can actually feel motivated to stick to it and keep going with it, right? Does that make sense? With the restrictive approach, what people generally do is they come down here, they're on 1,000 calories a day, they're on 1,200 calories a day. So that's restrictive. Restriction is just creating the calorie deficit, but that can be done in a healthy way. That can be done in a moderate way, in a sustainable way. Restrictive just means go as low as possible, eat as little as possible. Does that make sense? The second part of this then is what is included within those calories. So when people generally have the restrictive approach, what they do is they cut all of this stuff out. I can't have this, I'm not allowed to have this. They completely overhaul their food altogether and completely change everything. When we have caloric restriction, if it's done correctly and in a healthy way, these things can still be included. Because when we understand that I have 1,750 calories a day to play around with, and if I have this chocolate here, and for example, hypothetically, that's 100 calories of chocolate, I know I can include this as long as I stay to my 1,750 calories a day. It's still caloric restriction, but it's allowing us the flexibility. It's giving us choice in what we include within that 1,750 a day. Does that make sense? Whereas with the restrictive approach, it's just all of this stuff is gone. All of this stuff is off the table. I can't have it. I'm not allowed to have it. So hopefully that's helped clear up the difference between just caloric restriction, and that can be done in a healthy and sustainable way, and it's actually necessary to achieve the goal of fat loss, and being restrictive in how we do that. If you found this helpful, please do me a massive favor, like it, comment on it, share it. It allows me to know that this gave you value and to create more content like this. If you have any further questions on anything in relation to this, please send them to me, let me know, as I'd love to answer them and help you out.